The first breath of winter does not sweep through the Russian wilderness like a gentle whisper, but manifests itself as an indomitable force of nature. A massive white tide emerges from the Arctic Circle, spilling majestically over the mountains, descending into the valleys, and devouring the land in a matter of hours. In an instant, the northern forests sway beneath the last fleeting golden leaves of autumn. The next instant, the sky darkens, the wind sharpens its icy teeth, and a storm older than civilization itself awakens with a deep roar. A relentless blizzard whips across the vast tundra, rising like a living wall of ice. Snowflakes rush sideways in furious spirals, each carrying the chill of entire continents at its core. They cover every exposed branch, bury every open meadow, and muffle every sound in their path. The world transforms into a frightening battlefield, caught between a profound silence and the piercing howl of winter. Welcome to the wildlife struggle to survive the Russian winter. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to give us more motivation to keep creating quality content. Don't forget to leave a comment below telling us what you thought of the video, and let us know where you're watching from so we can chat together. May Mother Nature bless everyone with good health. Peace and love for nature. Let's begin. Across the endless Siberian taiga, towering conifers bend under the weight of accumulated frost. Their trunks creak like old doors as the storm whips them with relentless force, sealing the forest beneath multiple layers of ice armor. The ground disappears beneath a rising white ocean, an ocean that will deepen, harden, and hold this land captive for half the year. And amidst this sudden, absolute freeze, the first living silhouettes emerge. A solitary bull moose trudges through knee-deep snow, while his breath escapes his nostrils in thick, white plumes. Each exhale hangs suspended in the frigid air before vanishing, devoured by the cold. Frost crystallizes on his coat, transforming his majestic antlers into a sparkling crown of ice. The animal lowers his head and pushes forward with every slow, deliberate movement, fully aware that the season of plenty is over and the difficult survival begins now. Further east, a shadow glides stealthily among the trees. The storm clears briefly, revealing the amber eyes of a Siberian tiger observing how the forest changes around him. Snow accumulates on his whiskers. His ears twitch at the distant crack of a falling branch. Winter means hunger, longer hunts, and higher risks. Yet he stands firm, muscles tense beneath his increasingly thick coat, as if defying the storm itself with his presence. Above the leafless canopy, a golden eagle, undisputed sovereign of the sky, battles the blinding winds. His wings strain against the furious currents. Every feather shivers with cold. For an instant, the bird falters, pushed downward by a violent gust, but he regains his balance, cleaving through the storm with a triumphant cry. His domain is changing, but his sovereignty is not yet threatened. Out on the open tundra, a small white silhouette glides swiftly beneath the storm. An Arctic fox, already blended into the world of ice, digs frantically in the snow, searching for the faint scent of hidden prey. Beneath his icy feet, mice and voles scatter through their secret underground tunnels, rushing to stay one step ahead of the slowly creeping cold. Across thousands of miles, in the forests, mountains, steppes, and tundra, every creature feels the same unmistakable message. Winter has arrived, and it exacts a toll. The ancient battle between life and the cold has begun. Winter in Russia does not just transform the Earth, it completely rewrites the rules of survival. With every degree the temperature drops, the delicate balance between predator and prey tightens, turning into a relentless struggle where strength alone is not enough. Here, strategy becomes as vital as instinct, and each species must adapt or surrender to the icy embrace. In the heart of the taiga, where forests stretch beyond the horizon, wolves gather beneath the faint glow of the winter moon. Summer scatters them into smaller family groups. Winter forces them to unite into a formidable force. One by one, the silhouettes merge in the darkness until a full pack rises, a dozen powerful bodies moving as a single organism. Their breath fogs the night air, rising like ghostly smoke as they begin their patrol. Now, food is becoming scarce. Moose herds move less, thereby conserving their precious energy. Wild boars root in the thickets, hidden beneath the snow, almost inaccessible. But the wolves adapt. They form tighter formations, communicate through precise and repeated gestures, and track their weakened prey with unparalleled endurance. In winter, their unity becomes their greatest weapon. Not far away, Another predator hones its skills in solitude. The Eurasian lynx moves like a whisper in the wind. Its enormous paws distribute its weight evenly over the snow, allowing it to glide over surfaces that would trap heavier hunters. It makes no sound. There is no trace of urgency in its gait, only a serene and patient calculation. Winter strips many animals of their camouflage, but the lynx, wrapped in its thick spotted coat, becomes a ghost among the frozen trees. Its amber eyes lock onto a snowshoe hare, and the tension of the season becomes palpable in their shared moment. One must eat, the other must flee to live another day. Down in the lowlands, foxes do not rely on their strength, but on senses honed by generations of survival. A red fox pauses in an open field, its ears swiveling like radar antennas. Beneath the snow, life stirs, faint heartbeats, small movements, an invisible world. In winter, the forest rewards the one who listens with infinite patience. Above them all, birds of prey rule the skies. The great grey owl glides silently among the trees, barely moving its wings, and its disc-shaped face catches the slightest rustle beneath the snowpack. Every successful swoop marks one more day in the fight against hunger. Even the golden eagle, king of the mountains, adapts its behavior, diving down, taking risks, and seeking prey it would ignore during warmer months. But predators are not the only ones facing hardships. Moose scrape frozen bark with their tired hooves. Reindeer scratch the ground in search of lichen, a humble plant that becomes their vital sustenance. Musk deer search for buds hidden beneath the ice, their delicate frames shivering in the wind. Winter forces herbivores to herd together, exposes them, slows them down, and paints a target on their backs. Here, in these realms of ice, every encounter is a negotiation between hunger and hope, a biological arms race honed by millennia that reignites with every snowfall. The struggle intensifies, the stakes are higher, and the true challenge of the Russian winter is just beginning. And yet, despite the storms, the darkness, and the freezing cold, in these frozen realms, life continues. Each creature driven by instinct, strategy, and an unwavering resilience. In the frigid heart of the Siberian taiga, where centuries-old pines stand like silent guardians, and where snow covers the world in an unbroken white mantle, a shadow begins to move. It slips among the trees with almost impossible grace, leaving nothing but faint depressions on the powdery surface. This shadow belongs to one of the most elusive predators on Earth, the Siberian tiger, the largest cat in the world and the undisputed monarch of these winter forests. Winter transforms the tiger from a powerful hunter into a master of endurance. Prey becomes scarce, visibility is reduced, and the cold becomes an enemy as formidable as any rival predator. However, the tiger's body bears the mark of millennia of adaptation. Beneath its thick winter coat, with layers of dense underfur, hollow, insulating guard hairs, and a thick ruff around its neck, lies a reserve of endurance designed for the extreme conditions of Siberia. Every step is calculated, every movement designed to conserve precious heat. The tiger lifts its paw and sinks it softly into the snow. The forest absorbs the sound. Even the wind seems unwilling to betray its presence. However, deep snow slows its progress, forcing it to adjust its hunting strategy. Instead of an exhausting chase, it relies on stealth, patience, and the element of surprise. Like a ghost, it approaches its prey, often positioning itself downwind, using the terrain, fallen trunks, and the stillness of the winter night as its greatest allies. Tonight, the tiger's golden eyes lock onto a small herd of red deer gathered beneath frost-covered branches. Their ears twitch nervously. Every creature feels the pressure of winter. The tiger crouches, muscles tense beneath its striped coat, and waits. Minutes turn into an hour. Snowflakes begin to accumulate on its head and back, forming a natural camouflage. It is only when a deer strays too far from the group that the tiger unleashes its silent charge. Each leap powerful enough to blast the snow into brilliant arcs behind it. But winter rarely offers easy victories. The deer is fast. Its hooves cut through the hardened snow with expert force. The chase stretches through the forest, echoing with the dull, rhythmic thud of the pursuit and the sharp crack of branches beneath fleeing hooves. The tiger, heavy yet efficient, surges forward in controlled bursts of power. Sometimes the hunt ends in a swift takedown. Other times, the forest grants the prey a narrow escape, leaving the tiger panting softly in the dark, conserving its energy for the next attempt. Territory becomes even more crucial in winter. A male Siberian tiger can roam an area of several hundred square miles, marking trees with its claws and scent to warn rivals to stay away from the scarce resources. It is at night that these boundaries come to life. The forest fills with distant calls, chuffs, and deep, resonant roars that carry across the frozen expanses, subtle reminders that each tiger must defend not only its food, but its very identity. Across the snowy Siberian wilderness, where daylight fades early and the cold chills every living surface, a distant howl echoes through the silence. It rises, falls, and resonates among the trees, a single voice calling out to its kind. Moments later, another answers, then another. Soon, the forest trembles with a chorus of ancient sounds that defies the silence of winter. The wolves are gathering. Winter is the season when the grey wolf becomes most formidable. Scarcity unites them, drawing scattered family groups into larger, more strategic packs. A dozen wolves walk among the trees, their coats dense and full, tails low in a disciplined calm. Frost gathers around their muzzles as their cold breath rises into the air like smoke rising from a battle line. Individually, they are skilled hunters. Together, they form a force forged by centuries of instinct and unspoken cooperation. Tonight, the pack is hungry. They move in formation through knee-deep snow, paws spread wide to stay atop the frozen surface. The alpha pair leads the way, muzzles in the air, probing the wind for the scent of prey. When a faint trace of moose filters through the forest, the pack stops in unison, ears prick up, bodies stiffen. A silent decision is made among them. They will follow. Snow changes everything. While thick snowbanks slow down heavier prey, they also sap the predator's energy. The wolves compensate for this with relentless, almost mechanical endurance. They trot effortlessly over terrain that would exhaust other animals, conserving their strength until the moment to act. At the edge of a clearing, the moose herd appears, massive silhouettes moving in the moonlight, snow blanketing their backs. The wolves fan out, forming a semicircle around the unsuspecting animals. They do not rush, they observe, identifying a weakness, an older cow limping slightly, lagging behind the others. Then the chase begins. The moose lunge forward, kicking up the snow in frantic sprays. The wolves pursue them, and the forest becomes a whirlwind of motion. Grey flashes weaving between the trees, heavy footsteps, sharp snorts of exertion. The pack does not need to be faster, it needs to have more endurance. They pressure the moose, taking turns at the front, forcing the herd through deep snow where escape becomes harder with every step. As the weak moose falters, two wolves close in from opposite sides, driving it away from the main herd. A third rushes in, using the force of its body to knock the prey over onto the soft snow. The kill is swift, efficient, and the result of cooperation that no solitary predator could achieve. At the end of the hunt, the hierarchy becomes visible once again. The alpha pair eats first, then the others, in a strict order. There is no chaos, only structure, only family. Deep in the Siberian taiga, where the forest thickens and the silence feels almost sacred, a presence moves with such precision that the snow itself barely notices. A soft print here, a slight disturbance there, nothing more than subtle traces of what has passed. This is the Eurasian lynx, the ghost of the pines, a hunter defined not by speed or strength, but by absolute silence. Its winter coat is a masterpiece of insulation, a dense, spotted fur that retains heat and blends perfectly into the dappled light and shadow patterns of the trunks and underbrush. Its thick, tufted paws spread out like natural snowshoes, allowing the lynx to glide over powdery snowdrifts without sinking where stronger predators would struggle. Every step is taken with the delicacy of a dancer and the intent of a predator that hunts not by pursuit, but by patience. The lynx patrols alone. Unlike wolves, it does not form packs. Unlike tigers, it claims smaller territories but protects them with quiet resolve. Its domain consists of tangled brush, old fallen logs, and quiet clearings frequented by hares and grouse, prey it knows perfectly. Winter may bury the ground beneath layers of snow, but the lynx interprets the signs of the forest. The faint rustle beneath a fir tree, the flash of movement through the branches, the delicate track of a snowshoe hare imprinted hours ago. Tonight, the sky is heavy with clouds and a fresh squall has blurred the landscape. The lynx crouches beneath an evergreen tree, ears pricked and its black ear tufts catching the faint light. All its senses sharpen. Its eyes, capable of detecting the slightest sign in the gloom, scan the clearing where a grouse cautiously searches for food beneath a snow-covered bush. Then, without making a sound, the lynx begins its approach, a slow and fluid sequence of movements that erases the distance between shadow and prey. Its body crouches down, its muscles tense. The air itself vibrates with the tension of the impending action. In an explosive instant, the lynx leaps forward. Snow sprays beneath its paws as it covers several feet in a single bound. The grouse rises in a frenzy of wings, but the lynx is faster. Its outstretched paw snags the bird in mid-air, bringing it to the ground with expert efficiency. The hunt ends almost as quickly as it began, clean, precise, and silent. These ambushes are the lynx's trademark, but winter poses a challenge even to stealth experts. Deep snow hides the tracks of its prey. The intense cold forces it to patrol for longer periods. Competition intensifies, particularly with foxes and birds of prey seeking the same limited food. Despite everything, the lynx persists, roaming its territory night after night, scent marking its boundaries and reinforcing its silent dominance over its icy realm. Later, as dawn sheds its pale light over the taiga, the lynx sets off again, a ghost gliding among the trees, invisible until it decides to be seen. In the northern forests and mountains, winter belongs to those who sleep, the brown bears who vanish into the frozen earth just as the world turns white. Their disappearance is neither death nor true sleep, but a remarkable biological suspension that allows them to endure months of cold, ice, and hunger. The hibernation of brown bears is one of nature's most complex winter adaptations, shaped by the pressures of survival and synchronized with the changing conditions of the year. As autumn fades, brown bears go through a frantic period called hyperphagia, where their entire day revolves around consuming as many calories as possible. They can gain between 30 and 40% of their body weight during this time, accumulating fat that serves as both insulation and an energy reserve. Once the temperature drops and it begins to snow, the bear prepares its winter shelter, a den. The location of dens varies by region and terrain. Some bears dig chambers into hillsides, where their powerful claws tear through earth and roots to forge a cozy nest. Others seek natural shelters, such as hollow logs, caves, dense brush, or even the spaces beneath tree roots. The den must be safe, dry, and stable enough to withstand months of storms and accumulating snow. Inside the dark, secure chamber, the bear's body undergoes astonishing metabolic changes. For 5 to 7 months, it does not eat, drink, urinate, or defecate. Its heart rate slows from about 50 beats per minute to a mere 8. Body temperature drops slightly, but remains high enough to allow for a quick awakening in case of danger. The bear sustains itself on its fat reserves, breaking them down in a controlled manner to prevent muscle loss, which would be catastrophic in spring when strength is needed most. For this reason, scientists admire brown bear hibernation as a possible model for future medical breakthroughs. Perhaps the most extraordinary winter event occurs in the dens of pregnant females. Unlike males and non-pregnant females, pregnant bears enter hibernation carrying new life. During the harshest months of winter, usually in January, the cubs are born blind, hairless, and weighing barely 10 to 14 ounces, smaller than a human baby and completely dependent on their mother. Despite her fasting, the mother produces rich milk that allows the cubs to grow rapidly in the warmth of the den. Snuggled against her belly, they are protected from the freezing outside world, listening to her slow heartbeat as their first vital rhythm. Although hibernation is protective, it is not without danger. Premature awakenings caused by disturbances, unusual temperature spikes, or food shortages can be deadly. A bear that wakes up prematurely may not have enough fat left to survive the rest of the winter. Human disturbances, logging machinery, snowmobiles, or hiking near dens can force a bear to abandon its chamber long before spring arrives, endangering both the bear and, in the case of mothers, her tiny cubs. Climate change adds another threat, with unpredictable winters that can shorten the hibernation period and limit food availability in autumn. When spring finally returns, the bears emerge emaciated but alive, blinking in the sunlight after months of darkness. Mothers emerge with their now sturdy cubs, ready to teach them the ways of the forest. In the frozen forest, where trees stand encased in ice and the wind sweeps the snow into shifting drifts, two of the Northern Hemisphere's largest herbivores move with the slow, deliberate strength of survival. The moose and the deer, cousins in the cervid family, face winter not with speed or stealth, but with their size, endurance, and remarkable behavioral intelligence. They are giants built for adversity, using instinct and experience to navigate a world that becomes unforgiving for herbivores. For both species, finding food in winter is the greatest challenge. The lush pastures, grasses, and shrubs of summer disappear beneath thick blankets of snow, forcing them to adapt. Deer, which prefer meadows and open pastures, are often forced deep into coniferous forests where food is limited. They dig into the snow with their hooves, scraping until they find any remaining grass or sedge. When conditions worsen, they fall back on bark, twigs, and dry grasses, low-quality foods that require more time and energy to consume. Moose, on the other hand, are browsers and specialize in woody vegetation. Winter offers them willow, birch, and aspen branches, as well as the precious buds of shrubs, which are richer in nutrients than bare twigs. Their long legs and flexible upper lip help them reach high branches and strip entire shoots efficiently, thereby conserving energy during the harshest months. Predators, like wolves, bears, and big cats in certain regions remain a constant threat. Deer form large winter herds, where the presence of many eyes and ears increases the probability of detecting danger. Moose, solitary by nature, rely on their size and aggressiveness. A cornered adult moose can injure or even kill wolves with a well-placed hoof strike. However, winter tips the scales. A thick layer of snow slows heavy, undulates down far more than their predators. Wolves, with their narrow chests and splayed paws, run lightly over hardened snow, while moose sink deeply, tiring quickly. A winter chase often turns into a battle of endurance, and predators are known to target individuals weakened by age, injury, or poor nutrition. Snow depth and texture determine everything: movement, safety, energy levels, and access to food. Deer prefer windswept ridges and south-facing slopes where the snow is shallower. They retreat into dense forests that protect them from snowdrifts. Moose, with their long legs, have an advantage, but even they struggle when the snow reaches their chests. Every step becomes an effort, expending precious calories. To conserve energy, they often create runs-trampled paths. They reuse daily to reach feeding grounds or sheltered resting areas. Winter also increases their need for minerals, particularly sodium. Plants are less nutritious during the cold season, and the lack of green growth limits essential micronutrients. Moose and deer seek out natural mineral licks, saline soil deposits, or groundwater seeps, often traveling surprising distances to reach them. In some areas, they resort to chewing old bones or antlers to obtain calcium and phosphorus, a behavior known as osteophagia. Moose remember their historical wintering grounds where food is more accessible. They demonstrate sound decision-making, choosing resting spots that minimize wind exposure, using frozen rivers or wetlands as easier transit corridors, and altering their elevation based on snow conditions. Across the vast white expanses of northern Russia, where winter can engulf the earth for 8 months and storms whip the tundra without warning, one animal moves with ancestral certainty: the reindeer, a creature whose existence is defined by migration. They are the long-distance travelers of the Arctic, following routes older than written history, tracing invisible paths forged from generation to generation over thousands of miles. In the Russian winter, they not only survive, but they navigate. Reindeer migration is one of nature's most spectacular life cycles. With the arrival of winter, herds begin their southward journey, abandoning the windswept tundra in search of protected feeding grounds. Later, as the cold intensifies, some populations move again, constantly adapting to find the right combination of food availability, wind protection, and snow conditions. These journeys can stretch for hundreds of miles, and in some regions over 1,000 miles. All members of the herd, females, males, calves, travel together in a unified, vibrant mass. Their movements are synchronized and fluid, the result of both instinct and collective memory. Old matriarchs often lead the herd, having lived through many winters and learned where food lies beneath the snow. Their survival depends on a seemingly fragile resource, lichen. Beneath the layer of snow and ice, reindeer uncover this slow-growing organism, rich in carbohydrates and perfectly suited to their winter diet. With extraordinary precision, they use their hooves to scrape away layers of hard snow, a process known as cratering. Their hooves are a marvel of adaptation, wide and crescent-shaped. They spread out like natural snowshoes, supporting their weight on soft ground and providing traction on ice. In summer, the edges are softer to grip the damp tundra soil. In winter, they harden and transform into sharp, chisel-like tools, capable of cutting through ice-crusted snow. The reindeer's face is another anatomical feat. Its nose contains a complex network of turbinates that warm the freezing air before it reaches the lungs, conserving heat in extreme cold conditions. These structures also help them detect the faint scent of lichen beneath the snowpack. Their eyes adapt to the seasons, turning a deep blue in winter to increase sensitivity to low light, an essential feature in the Arctic darkness. Reindeer possess an astonishing sense of direction, guided by a combination of memory, smell, magnetic sensitivity, and herd cohesion. When the wind picks up and visibility drops, the herd tightens, pressing against one another to conserve heat and follow the lead animals. They orient themselves according to the prevailing wind and inch forward, guided by smell and instinct, even when humans would completely lose their bearings. In the vast, treeless expanses of the Russian Arctic tundra, where the wind freely whips across open plains and temperatures drop well below 0 Fahrenheit, a small, ghostly silhouette makes its way through the winter with unmatched cunning. The Arctic fox, compact, resourceful, and endlessly opportunistic, is one of the North's most extraordinary survivors. In a world where food is scarce and death lurks all around, this small predator thrives through a combination of instinct, strategy, and a formidable capacity for adaptation. Winter transforms the fox into a creature of almost perfect camouflage. Its coat, formerly brown and charcoal flecked in summer, turns a brilliant white, reflecting the snowdrifts of the tundra. This is not just an aesthetic change, but an imperative for survival. The fox blends perfectly into the Arctic landscape, allowing it to stalk its prey unseen. But this thick fur serves another function. It is one of the warmest insulating coats in the animal kingdom, retaining heat so efficiently that the fox can endure temperatures where metal would shatter from the cold. Hunting in winter is a test of patience and precision. Beneath the snow lies a hidden world where lemmings, voles, and other small mammals dig tunnels into insulated chambers. The Arctic fox listens motionless, in absolute silence, swiveling its ears to triangulate the faint scuttling below the surface. And then the moment arrives. The fox leaps upward, tracing a perfect arc, and dives snout, first into the snow, breaking the crust with an expert motion. This iconic behavior, known as mousing, is a masterpiece of instinctive hunting. A successful strike can make the difference between conserving energy and starving to death. However, even the best hunters cannot rely solely on their own skills in the Arctic winter. The Earth is too unforgiving. That is why the Arctic fox has developed one of its most brilliant strategies, the art of following giants. When a polar bear makes a kill, usually a seal pulled from the ice, the fox is never far behind. It follows the bear at a safe distance, waiting for scraps. A single bear kill can feed a fox for days or even weeks, especially when the carcass freezes and is naturally preserved in the open air. The fox's sense of smell can detect these remains from miles away, guiding it toward the vital prey left by larger predators. But foraging is not limited to bears. The fox is a tireless scavenger. It patrols the tundra looking for bird carcasses, fish left behind by storms, or remains unearthed by the ice. It even hoards food, burying scraps in snowdrifts or shallow pits, creating a network of secret caches to which it can return during starvation times. Its memory for these hiding places is extraordinary, and each cache is a small insurance policy against the harsh unpredictability of the Arctic. Throughout the Russian forest belt, those vast regions of birch, pine, and mixed forests that stretch for thousands of miles roams an animal whose intelligence and adaptability have made it one of the most successful predators in the world, the red fox. Elegant, with a blazing coat and always alert, the fox lives in constant motion, exploring a winter landscape where opportunities are fleeting and danger lurks in the shadows of the bushes. But unlike many creatures of the Russian winter, the red fox does not merely survive the season, it often thrives in it. Its survival begins with its most iconic hunting behavior. As the snow deepens on the forest floor, insulating the small rodents scurrying beneath, the fox raises its head and listens. Everything becomes quiet. The wind, the trees, even its own breathing. Its pointed, swiveling ears pick up the faintest vibrations, the quiver of a mouse's paw, the brush of fur against the wall of a hidden tunnel. The next instant, the fox springs into action with an almost theatrical movement. It arcs through the air in a perfect parabola, the classic mouse pounce. Front paws outstretched and snout pointing downward, it breaks the snowpack and lands squarely on its unsuspecting prey. A single successful strike provides a warm meal in a land where every calorie counts. But the red fox is more than a specialized hunter. It is an expert in opportunism. Unlike the Arctic fox of the far north, the red fox shares its territory with wolves, lynx, wild boars, owls, and humans. This competition shapes its behavior. The fox quickly learns which areas offer food, which routes are safe, and when to seek cover to avoid becoming prey. Winter forces it to expand its menu far beyond rodents. It scavenges at old kill sites. It follows ravens to carcasses. It digs for beetle larvae. It fishes along the banks of unfrozen rivers, and even raids squirrel caches. During lean months, a fox might unearth buried berries or chew on frozen fruits left by the last trees of autumn. Its cunning transcends the wilderness. As the snow deepens and the forests grow quiet, foxes often move toward isolated villages and settlements, slipping through human landscapes with ghostly subtlety. Here, the fox relies on its intelligence to exploit new food sources, scraps near barns, rodents attracted to grain stores, or garbage left outside homes. This connection with people is not new. Foxes in Russia have coexisted with humans for centuries, adapting their habits to survive the fields, livestock, guard dogs, and the unpredictable rhythms of rural life. They are neither completely wild nor completely domestic. They live in a delicate balance between the two worlds. Across the tundra of northern Russia, where the horizon stretches unbroken and the earth seems carved from the ice itself, one creature rules the vast, silent plains with a majestic tranquility. The snowy owl, wrapped in immaculate white plumage and crowned with impassive golden eyes, stands like a living sculpture on a wind-swept knoll. But beneath its serene demeanor lies a hunter perfectly in tune with the brutal rhythms of the Arctic winter. The snowy owl is a predator governed by cycles, particularly the boom and bust of rodent populations. In boom years, when lemmings and voles multiply in abundance, the owl thrives. In lean years, when prey is scarce, the owl must travel vast distances across the frozen steppes in search of food. These cycles determine everything: migration patterns, reproductive success, and even the survival of chicks. The owl does not just live in the Arctic, it lives at the mercy of its smallest inhabitants. Its behavioral adaptations for winter are exceptional. While many birds flee south when the cold sets in, snowy owls stay, anchored by their ability to endure temperatures that would freeze most creatures in minutes. Their thick, overlapping feathers, which extend even down their legs, form one of the most effective natural insulators in the avian world. However, beneath this softness lies a muscular and efficient hunter capable of explosive speed. Hunting is an exercise in patience and precision. From its perch on a snow mound or rocky outcropping, the owl scans the tundra, alert to the faint scratching of a rodent beneath the snow cover. Its ears, hidden beneath layers of down, are placed asymmetrically, allowing pinpoint accuracy in detecting sounds. When the moment comes, the owl launches on silent wings, an evolutionary masterpiece that dampens airflow and renders its descent lethally quiet. Unlike many birds of prey that rely on rapid aerial dives, the snowy owl prefers direct, powerful attacks. It often hovers momentarily, adjusting its angle before plunging its talons into the snow. With incredible force, it breaks through to snatch its prey. A single lemming sustains the owl for hours. If needed, it can catch dozens in a day. However, this abundance is tempered by lean years, when hunger forces them further south, even venturing into forests and farmlands in search of warmth and food. Breeding in the shadow of winter is a risky gamble. Snowy owls choose nesting sites in open terrain, on flat tundra ridges or slight elevations, where visibility is clear in all directions. They dig a shallow depression in the ground, lining it sparsely with grasses or feathers. Their decision to breed depends entirely on prey availability. In years of rodent abundance, they can lay large clutches, sometimes of 10 eggs or more. In lean years, they may not breed at all, conserving their energy simply to survive. In the steep, snow-covered mountains of eastern Russia, where rocky cliffs rise like frozen waves and forests cling precariously to steep slopes, lives one of the most stealthy creatures of the winter wilderness, the Siberian musk deer. Small, solitary, and with movements that seem almost weightless, this deer is unique. It belongs to an ancient lineage, shaped by millions of years of evolution, and navigates the harsh Russian winter with a combination of agility, caution, and quiet resilience. The most striking feature of the musk deer lies in its long, curved fangs, extending from its upper jaw like those of a delicate forest vampire. These sharp fangs, found mostly in males, are not predatory weapons, but tools of dominance used in territorial disputes and mating competitions. They completely replace antlers, making the musk deer a rare branch of the cervid family, where elegance outweighs brute strength. In winter, when the forests fall silent and the mating season is over, the fangs still gleam against the snow, giving the small deer an appearance that is both fragile and fearsome. Survival in the cold begins with the terrain. Unlike moose that stride through deep snow, the musk deer ventures into the steepest cliffs and sheerest ridges, places where few predators dare to follow. Its limbs are slender but surprisingly strong, and its hooves are perfectly adapted for grip, sharp, flexible, and capable of spreading apart to maintain balance on ice-covered rocks. In an instant, the musk deer can bound up an almost vertical slope, vanishing into cliffs that seem impossible for any hoofed animal to climb. This mastery of rugged terrain is its greatest protection. However, snowfall makes life difficult. Thick layers of snow slow down movements, bury food, and expose the musk deer to wolves and lynx. To survive, the deer relies on a selective diet and meticulous feeding habits. It feeds on lichens, mosses, pine needles, young shoots, and the tender tips of shrubs, vegetation hardy enough to survive the long Russian winter. Browsing takes time, and the musk deer must feed cautiously, frequently raising its head to detect danger. A single misstep out in the open can be fatal. Escaping predators is an art. When danger approaches, the musk deer does not run in open terrain. Instead, it retreats into narrow crevices, leaps over rocks, or follows ancient cliff trails known only to its kind. Its heart rate spikes, but its movements remain graceful and light, leaving barely any tracks in the snow. If cornered, it may stay completely motionless, trusting that its spotted brown winter coat will blend into the rocks and shadows. Beneath Russia's winter landscape, below the glittering blanket of snow, beneath the frost-hardened surface where predators roam and winds howl, hides a concealed civilization. It is a world few people see, but it is one of the most vital ecosystems in the entire northern hemisphere. This secret realm is the subnivean space, the area between the ground and the snowpack, where heat is trapped and life persists, defying the brutal cold outside. And within this fragile subterranean world rule the true architects of winter survival: voles, lemmings, and other small rodents. To the outside world, they are virtually invisible, not because they are rare, but because they have mastered the art of living in hiding. As soon as the first heavy snowfalls occur, these tiny creatures begin digging complex networks of tunnels through the soft, lower layers of snow. The surface hardens, forming a protective roof that shields them from owls, foxes, and freezing winds. Inside their tunnels, dark, damp, and surprisingly warm compared to the brutal outside, rodents move with confidence, scurrying from one chamber to another, feeding, nesting, and escaping the harshness of the surface. Voles are among the most active architects of this subnivean labyrinth. Their round bodies and inexhaustible energy allow them to dig effortlessly through the insulation provided by the snow. They create vast passageways that can stretch for feet in all directions, linking food sources to nests woven from dry grasses. Even under 3 feet of snow, voles can find the seeds, bark, and stems that sustain them. Their world, though hidden, is never quiet. Hundreds of little feet shape the silent city beneath the winter surface. Lemmings, iconic symbols of the Arctic, thrive particularly well in these snowy corridors. Their populations fluctuate drastically in cycles, increasing in abundance during peak years. When they swarm, the subnivean world becomes a bustling metropolis. Lemmings even breed during the winter, a rare trait among small mammals, and their populations can grow exponentially under the snow cover, fueling a vast network of predators. A single snowy owl family, for instance, may rely entirely on lemmings to raise its chicks. In this way, subnivean rodents act as the foundation of the winter food web, supporting animals much larger than themselves. But life in the subnivean world is not without danger. During sudden thaws, the tunnels can collapse and refreeze, trapping the rodents beneath solid barriers. Foxes and stoats sometimes detect movement from above and plunge through the snow to catch their prey. Despite everything, the rodent stealth remains their greatest strength. They rely on silent movement, hidden roots, and the insulating blanket of snow to survive. While many Russian birds escape winter by fleeing south, a few remarkable species stay behind, choosing to face the ice storms and freezing landscapes. These are the faithful survivors of the cold months, birds whose bodies, instincts, and behavior have been sculpted by evolution to endure conditions that would silence even the hardiest mammals. Among them, three stand out as icons of resilience: the great grey owl, the western capercaillie, and the rock ptarmigan. In the high, silent forests of the Siberian taiga, the great grey owl perches like a guardian spirit of winter, massive, motionless, wrapped in soft grey plumage that blends into the frost on the trunks. Its wingspan reaches over 3 feet, yet it flies with astonishing silence. Winter sharpens its senses. With snow covering the ground and hiding its prey, the owl relies on its extraordinary hearing. Its deep facial discs channel sound directly to its asymmetrically placed ears, allowing it to detect the faintest scuttling of a vole through the thick snow. When its target reveals itself, the owl swoops down in a slow, deliberate glide, adjusting mid-air with precise wing beats before striking the snowpack with its talons. Great grey owls can punch through hardened snow, sometimes over 1.5 feet deep, to reach the rodents below. In this way, the owl becomes one of winter's finest hunters, the aerial counterpart to wolves and lynx. On the forest floor, hidden beneath the canopy of spruce and pine, the western capercaillie moves with a prehistoric heaviness. This enormous bird, one of the largest in the world, greets winter with a notable change in its diet and behavior. When insects and berries disappear, it turns to the only available food, pine needles. To digest this resinous diet, the capercaillie develops a large, muscular crop and specialized gut bacteria. Its winter days are quiet and energy efficient. It climbs onto low branches early in the morning, snipping off needles with its powerful beak before retreating into the thickets, where the snow buffers the wind and protects it from predators. During snowstorms, the capercaillie may burrow into soft snowbanks, using the insulating snow as a natural shelter. Inside these snowy dens, it sleeps warmly, even as outside temperatures drop well below 0 Fahrenheit. But perhaps the most astonishing winter transformation belongs to the rock ptarmigan, a master of seasonal camouflage. As winter approaches, its brown speckled feathers gradually molt, replaced by a pure white mantle that blends perfectly into the snowy tundra and alpine slopes. Its feathered feet act like natural snowshoes, distributing its weight and allowing it to walk on powdery snow where other birds would sink. When the freezing wind intensifies, the ptarmigan simply hides beneath the snow, tunneling into small chambers that provide warmth and protection, similar to the subnivean shelters of rodents. Its diet becomes equally opportunistic: twigs, buds, berries, and whatever hardy vegetation it can find. When danger approaches, the ptarmigan relies on its camouflage and remains completely motionless, while foxes and birds of prey pass just a few feet away. Every winter, As northern landscapes harden under frost and daylight diminishes, millions of birds take flight in a spectacle of endurance, memory, and instinct. Among the most iconic migrants of the boreal and Arctic regions are cranes, swans, and geese, species that have developed powerful wings, efficient metabolisms, and extraordinary navigation systems that guide them over thousands of miles. Their departures mark the seasonal rhythm of the Northern Hemisphere, and their return in spring becomes one of the first signs of life's rebirth. Different species follow distinct migratory routes, each shaped by its ancestral geography and ecological opportunities. Cranes often follow narrow, traditional routes, centuries-old aerial corridors passed down from generation to generation. These routes connect the northern breeding grounds of Siberia, Alaska, and Scandinavia to wintering grounds in China, India, Africa, and the Mediterranean. Swans, particularly whooper swans and tundra swans, travel broader routes across Eurasia, stopping at wetlands, lakes, and vegetation-rich estuaries. Geese, such as the barnacle goose, snow goose, and grey-lag goose, fly in large flocks along well-studied routes like the East Atlantic and Central Asian flyways. These routes are not straight lines, but winding networks shaped by weather conditions, wind assistance, obstacles like mountains and seas, and the availability of safe resting places. Some migratory legs can cover hundreds of miles per day, while others involve non-stop flights fueled by fat reserves accumulated in the autumn. Migration is not a smooth glide, but a challenge fraught with threats. Storms can scatter flocks, forcing emergency landings that leave the birds vulnerable to predators. Sudden freezes can wipe out stopover wetlands. Fog and snowstorms hinder visibility and weaken navigational cues. Human impact adds new dangers. Habitat loss in resting areas deprives birds of the food they need to refuel. Power lines, wind turbines, and street lighting pose collision risks. Hunting pressure, legal or illegal, persists in certain regions. Young birds, on their first migration, face particularly high mortality rates. They must learn group dynamics, safe feeding areas, and weather patterns, all while traveling thousands of miles. For cranes, swans, and geese, stopovers are not optional, but essential. Wetlands, river deltas, marshes, and harvested agricultural fields provide the carbohydrates and proteins needed to rebuild exhausted muscles. In famous locations like the Amur River Basin, the Bharatpur wetlands in India, and the Wadden Sea in Europe, tens of thousands of birds gather simultaneously. These temporary sanctuaries allow the birds to rest, socialize, and synchronize their flight. An ill-timed arrival at a depleted or disturbed site can be fatal. This is why the migratory pace is perfectly timed. Many species only depart when wind direction, temperature, and internal fat reserves align perfectly. Perhaps the most astonishing aspect of migration is the birds' ability to orient themselves with such precision. Cranes, swans, and geese rely on a combination of environmental cues: the position of the sun, the stars, the Earth's magnetic field, familiar coastlines, and even olfactory traces drifting through the landscape. Young individuals often learn the way by following experienced adults, creating cultural chains of knowledge that can last for centuries. The Amur leopard, often called the ghost of the tiger, is one of the most elusive and endangered big cats on the planet, with only a small population surviving in the Russian Far East and northeast China. This solitary predator lives in a landscape of steep ridges, dense forests, and long, snowy winters. Its entire existence is determined by the scarcity of prey, territory, and mates. However, despite these challenges, the Amur leopard has developed remarkable physical and behavioral adaptations that allow it to cling to survival in one of the harshest habitats a feline can occupy. Amur leopards are primarily nocturnal, emerging at dusk to patrol the rocky slopes and wooded valleys of their territory. Their behavior is characterized by stealth. They move silently through deep snow on large fur-covered paws that act like natural snowshoes, distributing their weight and preventing them from sinking. Unlike tigers, which rely on strength, leopards rely on agility and ambush, stalking from above, perching on cliffs or fallen logs before launching an explosive, precise attack. In winter, this hunting style becomes even more crucial. Prey is alert, exposed, and often scarce. The leopard must conserve its energy, so it avoids long pursuits. Instead, it stashes its kills high up in trees or in thickets to protect them from scavengers. These food caches can sustain the leopard for days, an important strategy in a habitat where every calorie counts. Despite their solitary nature, Amur leopards communicate through scent marks, ground scrapes, and calls that echo through the valley during mating season. Males sometimes follow females for several days, but after mating, both return to their separate lives. Today, the Amur leopard population numbers fewer than 200 individuals in the wild. Such a small population faces intense genetic pressure, low diversity, risks of inbreeding, and vulnerability to disease. A single forest fire, a harsh winter, or a poaching incident could affect a significant portion of the remaining cats. Small populations also pose behavioral challenges. Finding a mate may require traveling vast distances, sometimes forcing leopards to crossroads, logging areas, or human settlements. Conservation programs closely monitor individuals, track family lineages, and maintain protected corridors connecting fragmented habitats. Every cub counts. Every birth is a victory against extinction. Amur leopards require vast territories, often ranging from 40 to 115 square miles, depending on prey availability. Males maintain even larger home ranges that overlap with those of several females. These territories are shaped by the landscape, the steep slopes where deer gather, the lushly vegetated river valleys, and the sheltered ravines that offer dens. Marking territory is essential. A clearly defined home range helps reduce energy-draining conflicts with other leopards and ensures access to limited prey. In winter, when snow deepens and movement becomes difficult, leopards adapt their patrol routes to preferred trails and wind-sheltered slopes. The Amur leopard's primary prey, roe deer, seeker deer, and hares become harder to find in winter. Deep snow slows these animals down and also masks their tracks. When prey numbers dwindle, the leopard's survival is directly threatened. A starving leopard may approach villages in search of livestock, increasing the risk of human-wildlife conflict. To survive, Amur leopards resort to opportunistic hunting, catching raccoon dogs, badgers, or even scavenging on tiger kills. Although they are competitors, tigers indirectly benefit leopards by maintaining healthy deer populations through natural selection. On the fringes of the northern Russian wilderness, where storms erase the horizon and temperatures drop to brutal levels, the wolverine roams like a myth carved from ice. Stocky, muscular, and surprisingly strong for its size, the wolverine is a creature shrouded in mystery and legend. Few animals embody winter resilience quite as fully. Its world consists of frozen forests, vast stretches of tundra, and snow-capped mountains, and it thrives where others falter. But no aspect of its existence is more impressive than its winter scavenging ability, its fearless nature, and the ferocity with which it defends its place in the barren food chain. Wolverines possess an extraordinary sense of smell that allows them to detect carcasses buried under feet of snow. Winter, A season of scarcity for almost all species becomes an opportunity for these stout beasts. They roam huge territories, sometimes several hundred square miles, climbing ridges, crossing frozen rivers, and patrolling hidden valleys, always searching for the faintest trace of a kill. A dead moose or reindeer can feed a wolverine for weeks, and it consumes almost every part of the animal: meat, hide, bones, and frozen fat. This scavenging is not random wandering, but a calculated strategy. Wolverines memorize the landscape and return to areas where predators like wolves or lynx frequently hunt. They usually arrive shortly after the larger predator leaves, or even steal chunks of meat from caches. With jaws capable of crushing bone and claws designed to tear, wolverines excel at dismantling frozen carcasses that would defeat weaker scavengers. Their caching habits are equally vital. Wolverines often drag carrion to the tops of trees, into rock crevices, or into deep burrows, hiding it from competitors. The cold acts as a natural freezer, preserving their food during the harshest months. The wolverine's reputation as one of the most ferocious animals in the Northern Hemisphere is not exaggerated. Although it typically weighs only between 22 and 40 pounds, a wolverine will confront and sometimes chase away animals many times its size if food is at stake. Its confidence is part of its survival strategy. In winter, energy is a precious commodity. Giving up a meal could mean starving to death. A wolverine will growl, scream, and puff up its thick fur to appear larger. Its muscular build and astonishing bite strength allow it to stand its ground even against wolves. In some documented incidents, wolverines have successfully defended carcasses against a lone wolf or a lynx. And there are rare accounts of wolverines attacking much larger prey, especially if the animal is weakened. This aggression is not recklessness, but calculation. Every morsel of food secured contributes to the fat reserves that help it survive times of scarcity. A wolverine that hesitates risks losing precious calories to faster or stronger competitors. Wolverines are in constant competition with wolves and lynx. Wolf packs are their most dangerous adversaries. A pack will kill a wolverine if the opportunity arises, eliminating a competitor and securing the carcasses. However, wolverines deliberately shadow wolf territories, knowing they often leave behind scraps of large kills. The wolverine relies on its speed, its cunning, and its intimate knowledge of the terrain to slip between pack patrols and claim the leftovers. With the lynx, the dynamic changes. The lynx is a solitary hunter, more cautious but also territorial. Wolverines often follow lynx to their hidden kills. If the lynx is present, a confrontation may ensue. Standoffs, swiping, and sometimes brawls. Normally, the lynx backs down first. If the lynx is not there, the wolverine wastes no time dismantling the cache. Across the immense Arctic tundra, where winter erases color and silence settles like a second layer of snow, a small silhouette moves at breakneck speed. The Arctic hare, compact, muscular, and cloaked in the purest white, stands out as one of the region's most remarkable survivors. It is an athlete, sculpted by frost and wind, a creature whose existence depends on the ability to escape danger and blend perfectly into a landscape made of ice and emptiness. In winter, the Arctic hare becomes almost indistinguishable from the surrounding snow. Its coat turns into a dense, radiant white that absorbs little heat but provides excellent insulation. The camouflage is nearly perfect. Against an endless canvas of snowdrifts and crystalline plains, the hare appears to be nothing more than a sculpted mound of snow. This invisibility is not a luxury, but its most powerful defense. Arctic predators, from snowy owls to lynx and wolves, are perfectly attuned to movement. A motionless hare can go completely unnoticed, even from just a few feet away. It is only when the wind shifts or a shadow gets too close that the hare reveals its true power. The Arctic hare is one of the fastest animals on the tundra, capable of reaching speeds of nearly 40 miles per hour. But its true genius lies in its ability to run across the snow crust that collapses under the weight of heavier predators. Its long, muscular hind legs act like coil springs, propelling it in explosive leaps that cover surprising distances. Furthermore, its large, furry feet act like natural snowshoes, distributing its weight with such lightness that it barely grazes the surface. This gives it a massive advantage when fleeing wolves or foxes that sink with every step. The chase often unfolds like a dramatic ballet. The predators sink, crawl, and lunge forward while the hare glides effortlessly over the frozen terrain. At full speed, the hare weaves between low hills, dashes across frozen plains, and changes direction with astonishing agility. Its heart pounds, its breathing accelerates in frantic bursts, but its instincts remain sharp. Every turn, every leap is guided by the survival etched into its bones. Although typically solitary during warmer months, Arctic hares gather in larger herds during winter, sometimes forming groups of dozens or even hundreds. These gatherings serve several purposes: protection from predators, warmth through proximity, and better access to wind-scoured feeding areas where vegetation is exposed. A group of Arctic hares on the tundra creates an almost surreal sight. White bodies huddled together in cautious stillness, blending into the snow, until a sudden movement reveals the living creatures hiding beneath. If disturbed, the entire herd can burst into synchronized motion, scattering across the plains at astonishing speed. This collective movement confuses predators, who struggle to isolate a single target. Beneath the frozen landscapes of Russia lies a world few ever witness. A realm sealed under layers of ice where water slows, light fades, and survival depends on ancient, perfectly tuned adaptations. Winter turns rivers and lakes into crystal prisons, but life continues beneath their icy roofs, moving at a tranquil pace while the world above is battered by blizzards, predators, and storms. Here, beneath the ice, fish glide through freezing currents, amphibians sleep in suspended animation, and semi-aquatic mammals like otters and beavers forge warm havens during the harshest season. As temperatures plummet, Russian rivers undergo a slow but drastic transformation. The surface begins with whisper-thin ice crystals that form delicate patterns gleaming under the weak sun. Over the days, these crystals merge, thickening to form a sheet that expands with every freezing night. In small streams and ponds, the ice can reach over 3 feet in thickness, insulating the underlying water from the icy surface winds. Beneath the ice, fish must survive in conditions that would kill most creatures. Oxygen grows scarce as plants go dormant and water movement slows. To cope, fish dramatically reduce their metabolism. Pike, perch, and Siberian whitefish move sluggishly, conserving every calorie. Their movements are minimal, slight fin twitches, slow glides, and suspended rests near the bottom. Some species alter their blood chemistry. Their cells become more efficient at absorbing small amounts of dissolved oxygen. Others, like certain species of carp and loaches, can even tolerate dangerously low oxygen levels by switching to alternative metabolic pathways. They may congregate near underwater springs where oxygen is more plentiful, or near places where the ice is thinner and gas exchange still occurs. Amphibians face one of the most difficult challenges of all. Frogs and salamanders cannot remain active in freezing temperatures. Instead, they enter a state of deep hibernation. Many species bury themselves in the mud at the bottom of ponds, slowing their heart rate to barely perceptible beats. Some frogs, incredibly, even tolerate partial freezing. Their bodies are flooded with glucose that acts as a natural antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from destroying their cells. Encased in mud and frost, these amphibians become living statues, waiting for the first whisper of spring to awaken. River otters are among the few creatures that remain fully active beneath the ice. Agile, curious, and tireless hunters, they slip through openings called vents that they maintain along the banks. Underwater, they move with fluidity and grace, weaving among submerged plants, fallen logs, and the slow-moving silhouettes of fish. Their dense fur traps warm air against their skin, insulating them even in near-freezing water. Otters rely on speed and precision. A sudden strike, a spin, a snap of the jaws, and their prey is secured. Beavers play a completely different game. Their lodges, massive domes of logs and mud, become fortresses of warmth during the winter months. Beneath the ice, they access underwater entrances, unreachable by predators. Inside, the chambers lined with shredded wood stay surprisingly warm thanks to the family's shared body heat. On the frozen surface of Lake Baikal, winter arrives like a sculptor, chiseling waves into ridges of blue ice and polishing the lake until it resembles a vast sheet of glass. Beneath this world of ice lies the deepest lake on Earth, a body of water older than many mountain ranges, and within it, perfectly adapted to its ancient cold, lives one of Russia's most iconic and mysterious creatures, the Baikal seal, or Nerpa. These small, round-bodied seals are the only exclusively freshwater pinnipeds in the world, a species shaped by millennia of isolation. Winter is not just a season for them, but the challenge that defines the rhythm of their lives. When the cold sets in, female Baikal seals undertake one of the most delicate acts of their lives. They build dens, known as pupping lairs, in the snowdrifts that accumulate over the thick layers of ice. These lairs serve as isolation chambers, protecting the newborns from temperatures that can drop well below -22 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside these pale-domed nurseries, the air is warmer, stuffy, and calm. A mother gives birth to a single pup, wrapped in a white, woolly coat. During its first days, the pup never touches the open air. It nurses in the dark, depending entirely on the thermal shield provided by the lair. The mother frequently maintains breathing holes, scraping away snow to ensure fresh air and quick access to the water below. While the outside world remains silent and frozen, Baikal seals navigate the dark, freezing waters with astonishing confidence. Their large, bright eyes see clearly in the gloom beneath the ice sheet, and their whiskers detect the slightest underwater vibration, an essential skill for hunting Baikal oilfish, sculpins, and the lake's famous endemic species, the Golomyanka. The seals carve multiple breathing holes throughout their territory, keeping them open with daily scraping and clearing. These holes act like a personal map, allowing them to travel huge distances under the frozen lake without ever surfacing. In these near-freezing waters, their thick layer of blubber and dense fur retain heat close to their bodies, allowing them to hunt for hours. Most hunting takes place at dusk or in total darkness, where the seals glide silently through ancient underwater canyons carved into the lake bed. The world beneath the Baikal ice is strange, immense, and awe-inspiringly deep, and the Nerpa moves through it with the same ease as a bird in the sky. Baikal seals have virtually no natural predators, but during winter, their pups are vulnerable. When the snow cover is thin, foxes and even ravens can break into their lairs and kill the defenseless pups. Wolves may roam the lake's surface during severe winters, though encounters are rare. Underwater, seals are kings. Fast, agile, and facing few threats. Their greatest danger comes not from claws or teeth, but from changes in the environment itself. In recent decades, one of the most pressing threats to Baikal seals comes not from nature, but from global warming. Winters are getting shorter. Ice forms later. Snowfall patterns are shifting unpredictably. Without deep, stable snowdrifts, the pupping lairs collapse, exposing the young to lethal, cold or hungry predators. In the immense silence of the Siberian winter, the pine forests stand like ancient guardians, towering green pillars rising above a white ocean. Their needles glisten with frost, their branches bend beneath the weight of the snow, and the air around them is steeped in the scent of resin and cold earth. But beneath this stillness lies one of Russia's most complex and balanced ecological networks. Here, survival depends on the pine, the soul of the forest, and on the species that rely on it during the darkest and coldest months of the year. Deep inside the cones of Siberian cedar pines lies the forest's most precious winter treasure, pine nuts. Rich in fats and proteins, these seeds are the fuel that sustains countless species through the harsh winter. Their abundance or scarcity can dictate the entire season. Sables, red squirrels, chipmunks, and nutcrackers rely on pine nuts. The Siberian nutcracker, a cunning bird with a powerful beak, is the primary planter and propagator of these forests. In summer, it hides tens of thousands of seeds in the ground. In winter, the bird returns to these secret caches with astonishingly precise memory and feeds on the energy-rich pine nuts safely buried beneath the snow. Squirrels do the same, though with less discipline and far more enthusiasm. In autumn, they gather pine cones in bursts of chaotic activity, stuffing holes in trunks, hollow logs, and underground chambers with the forest's precious resource. These hoards are essential to their survival. Without them, a starving squirrel has little chance of surviving the Siberian cold. Red squirrels are among the most visible residents of the winter pine forests. With fluffy tails and lightning-fast movements, they leap between ice-covered branches with almost miraculous agility. Their winter coat thickens into a soft, silvery grey, blending easily into the monochromatic world. They spend the cold season exploring their network of hidden food reserves, carefully rationing their supplies. Occasionally, they raid caches forgotten by nutcrackers or chipmunks. Every meal is a small victory in a landscape where energy is life. But squirrels are also a link in the predator network. Their tracks attract the attention of numerous hunters patrolling these forests with quiet precision. Where there are pine nuts and squirrels, predators follow. The Siberian pine forest harbors a multitude of winter hunters. The sable, an elegant, weasel-like predator, is one of the most agile. It can chase squirrels high into the trees or dig tunnels in the snow to ambush rodents. Sables are expert climbers, slipping between branches with feline grace in search of prey. The lynx stalks the forest floor, spreading its paws over the snow as if they were natural snowshoes. It patiently follows the tracks of squirrels, hares, and grouse, waiting for the perfect ambush opportunity in the quiet of the pines. Owls, especially the great grey owl, perch on frost-covered branches in the dim light of dawn, searching for the slightest rustle of rodents hidden in the snow. Its silent flight turns the pine forest into a hunting zone where prey rarely perceive the danger before it is too late. The trees themselves are marvels of adaptation. Siberian cedars and pines have evolved needles instead of broad leaves to prevent water loss. Their branches become flexible, bending under heavy snow without breaking. Their thick bark protects them from frost, and their roots penetrate deep into the permafrost-affected soil. Their cones are masterpieces of design, hermetically sealed to protect developing seeds from the cold, wind, and hungry animals until the time is right. High in the frozen valleys of Russia, where the wind erodes the bare rock and snow blankets the slopes at frightening angles, life clings to the mountains with a tenacity that few creatures elsewhere can match. Here, at dizzying altitudes, winters are long, temperatures drop mercilessly, and survival demands a combination of agility, instinct, and bravery. The wildlife of these peaks, the Siberian ibex, the snow sheep, and the formidable golden eagle, has evolved in perfect harmony with the cliffs, crevices, and dangerous ridges, mastering the art of living where few dare to venture. Snow sheep, close relatives of mountain goats, share this dangerous environment. Slightly smaller than mountain goats, they rely on their agility and the herd's vigilance. They graze in tight-knit groups, moving together along ledges and often descend to lower slopes when storms block access to higher altitudes. Snow sheep have learned to detect avalanche-prone areas and use their sturdy hooves to reach lichen, the frozen gold of the tundra. Arctic hares huddle in piles, conserving their energy, while musk oxen form compact herds where their collective body heat counteracts the freezing winds. Even fish and amphibians beneath frozen lakes slow their metabolisms to near total dormancy, conserving their energy until the brief thaw. Even birds like the rock ptarmigan group together beneath snowbanks. By burrowing into communal chambers, they reduce heat loss and maintain a microclimate that protects them from winds exceeding 60 miles per hour. These small gatherings, though subtle, are essential for survival in a place where even a slight miscalculation can mean death. The wind defines the tundra. Snowbanks, ice ridges, and wind-sculpted mounds create both obstacles and protection. Herbivores use leeward slopes and depressions to take shelter during storms, while predators, like Arctic foxes, take advantage of the terrain to stealthily approach their prey. Camouflage is fundamental. Fur and plumage change from brown to white, blending perfectly into the snowy terrain. Even body shape is optimized.
Les formes compactes conservent la chaleur, tandis que la densité de la fourrure et des plumes fournit une isolation contre le refroidissement éolien, qui peut descendre en dessous de négatif 50 degrés Celsius.
Winter transforms the Russian wilderness into a frozen chessboard where every move is measured, every decision carries weight, and survival depends not only on individual skill, but also on the complex interaction between species. During these months of scarcity, relationships between predators, scavengers, and prey take on high-stakes dynamics, creating a web of interactions that defines life in the coldest landscapes on Earth. As winter slowly releases its grip on the vast Russian wilderness, the saga of survival leaves an indelible mark on every frozen landscape. From the dark pine forests of the taiga to the sun-bleached tundra, from the cliffs of the Urals to the icy depths of Lake Baikal, life has endured with tenacity and precision. Each species, predator and prey alike, has forged strategies perfectly adapted to the harshest months. Wolves roam in carefully organized packs, tracking the weak or the unwary. Tigers move silently through the snowy forests, their eyes like molten amber against the white. Wolverines search for food with relentless determination, unafraid of confrontation. Even the smallest creatures, voles tunneling beneath the snow, Arctic hares darting across snowbanks, subnivean amphibians play a vital role in a network sustained by the immutable rules of survival. What do you think? Let us know in the comments, and don't miss the wildlife of the Andes.